Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. We have got round number 13 of the 2023 Formula 1 season. We are at Zandvoort in the Netherlands. It is raining. It's been raining all day, in fact, and it should be, well, it's going to be wet conditions for qualifying today, I can tell you that. And in fact, the F2 race got cancelled because the rain was so heavy. So we're still waiting on the FIA to let us know whether the race will go on, or whether the qualifying will go on, or is it going to be delayed by a certain amount of time, or how they're going to organise the grid. We'll just have to see, really. But that's kind of the weather update situation. But apart from that, there's been lots of action going on the circuit, lots of incidents due to the wet weather, and yeah, a lot to look forward to. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you hit the like button, that'd be fantastic, and the data should load in shortly now. Yeah. All right. So, we've had 3 practice sessions. 2 of them, well, FP3 today has been wet. FP1 and 2 were pretty much dry throughout, and it looks pretty dry looking at the circuit right now. So, I've just got the feed loaded up, and the clouds aren't too grey, and there isn't any rain falling as of now. So I suspect the circuit will have dried up and the FIA will continue qualifying as normal. It is wet, but there's no more rain anymore. So the circuit, it's not raining, but the circuit is still wet. And yeah. All the Dutch fans are out there, as usual, cheering away for Max Verstappen, as you would expect, to be honest. And we will have the data come in a bit. Okie dokes. Yeah, thank you for all of the welcome back messages. Hope you guys have had a nice summer break. Yeah, I've had a bit of a relax. In fact, yeah, well, just had a nice relax. Really, been reading a fair amount. Yeah. All right. So the data is finally loading up. There we go. Well, let's just get rid of this. Ooh. Right. The data is loading in a second now. Okay, so let's just run through FP1, FP2, FP3. So in FP1, there was only one incident that I can remember. It was, I think, Nico Hulkenberg crashing in to the barriers and having a bit of an incident there. But apart from that, he lost his front wing. In fact, there are actually quite a few upgrades. Yes, I'll talk about the upgrades because I totally forgot about them. So we have Red Bull with some minor floor tweaks. They have got slightly different floor, and yeah, just modified the diffuser a little bit. Mercedes, just a whole slew of aero tweaks all over the car, the front, the rear, the side pods. Everything has just been slightly tweaked to try and optimize that performance. And then Aston Martin have got, I forgot what Aston Martin have got upgrades. I don't remember exactly which part of the car the upgrades are on. But Fernando Alonso did come back. He said to the media and to the team that the upgrades feel good, and the car is quicker because of them. So that is good signs for Aston Martin. Hopefully they can put themselves a little bit close to where they were at the start of the season, and we'd love to see them back up on the podium. And yeah. All right. Who else have brought upgrades? I think, yeah, Haas have brought upgrades. Of course, Haas brought upgrades to the front wing section of their car. Unfortunately, Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen both have ended up crashing the car and damaging the front wing. So they only have one front wing left that is of the new spec, and I'm not sure which driver is going to get it. It might be Hulkenberg, might be Magnussen. No way of knowing. Also, big news, Daniel Ricciardo, well, obviously it's not like, Daniel Ricciardo broke his wrist in practice, so I think, well, it's either broke his hand or broke his wrist. I've been hearing both of them, but point being, he can't drive the car anymore, so Liam Lawson is stepping in for Daniel Ricciardo, and he is driving the AlphaTauri at today's Grand Prix, so that is going to be yeah, that's going to be surprising. We'll see how he does. Hopefully he does well. Like, we'll just have to see, really, because he's only had one practice session in an F1 car, so it is pretty difficult to know how he's going to perform. Here's the map. Alrighty, let's just get that adjusted up. There we go. Okie dokes. Yeah, Liam Lawson Grand Slam. Well, I mean, I think definitely he'd be dreaming about that. He wakes up, yeah, because he obviously got told about it yesterday after Daniel Ricciardo got his wrist broken. So I suspect last night he was dreaming, yeah, he's going to stick it on pole position in the wet conditions and then go get a Grand Slam like Seb Vettel did all the way back in 2008. Unfortunately, the conditions are slightly different. Well, to be honest, Vettel did it in wet conditions in Monza in 2008. For you guys that don't know or didn't watch F1 back then, well, to be fair, I didn't watch F1 back then, but I'm referring back to when Sebastian Vettel won a race in a Toro Rosso or an AlphaTauri, basically the sister team of the Red Bull, in Monza 2008 in wet conditions, because in the practice sessions nobody went out. Everyone was like, oh, it's going to dry up on Sunday, and then so everyone just didn't go out in the practice sessions, and they're like, okay, well, there's no point practicing out in the rain, except Seb Vettel was the only driver that ended up getting pole position and going on to win the race. So that was yeah, quite fantastic. Maybe Liam Lawson will do that, who knows. Hello Kiaz, nice to see you back. Yeah, it's been a while. But yeah, I've been good. Hope you're doing good as well. I mean, it must be pretty late. 12 hours, 11 hours ahead. It's 12 midnight in Australia. We'll just have to, yeah, hope you enjoy today's qualifying. Unfortunately, Daniel Ricciardo's out, so yeah. But Oscar Piastri is still driving, so you can support him. And I guess, I don't know if Australians like New Zealanders. Is that what? I'm not sure that's what it is. But yeah, Liam Lawson is from New Zealand, and he is driving the AlphaTauri. Nearing 11 p.m. I just got back from work, yeah. Well, hope you enjoyed today's qualifying. We've got 5 minutes left to go. It is wet conditions. There's no more rain, but it is wet. So, yeah, that's the situation on the track conditions. I will keep you updated if it does start raining or not, because it has been pretty unpredictable. The GPS hasn't been the most accurate because, well, I'm not sure of the exact reasons why, but they can't predict the weather over the sea very accurately, and Zandvoort is on the coast. So, yeah, they can't predict the weather out at sea very accurately. So the weather at sea and the coast is pretty similar. So that is why they're having issues with the accuracy of the weather data. Oh, you just got tickets to next year's Spa. That is fantastic. Yeah, Spa is one of those great circuits that you would want to go see an F1 Grand Prix at. That would be, yeah, fantastic. Okie dokes, 5 minutes left. Let's have a quick run through of, well, what are we going to talk about? The FP3 session. So I'll just summarize all of the incidents. We had both Ferraris locking up going into turn number 1. We had Alonso, one of the Alpines, also locking up. And then a couple of excursions onto the gravel track for Max Verstappen, Guan Yu Zhou. We had Kevin Magnussen spin on his outlap, crash the car at turn number 3. He literally came out the pits, spun the car, and crashed. So, yeah, that's unfortunate for him. And then we had a couple of other incidents as well in FP3. Nothing major. Everyone is still able to compete in today's qualifying. But, yeah, quite a few off-track excursions for the Alpines, for the Ferraris, and for most of the drivers. And they will be getting ready to go. Well, they'll be looking to iron out those mistakes for today's qualifying session, because it is extremely tricky out there. And the other thing is, the circuit is so narrow with 20 cars looking to go out. It's going to be very tricky to avoid traffic. And another thing is, usually when we have wet qualifying sessions, we have, say, the teams put in like 5 laps of fuel into the car, and then they just say, right, go out, we'll put some wet tires on the car and go drive around, and then just slowly improve and build up your pace. And set a good lap time. Whereas normally in the usual qualifying sessions, it's like do one lap and then come back in, do another lap, come back in. So when the drivers and the teams are doing 5 laps on sets of tires, there's going to be a lot more cars on the circuit for the duration of the session, which just means more traffic and more potential of getting penalties and blocking someone. So yeah, it's pretty tough out there, and it's going to be extremely tough for the drivers who are not on left line laps. They're going to have to get out of the way somewhere because they can't go on the gravel, can't go on the grass, and there's very little off track like tarmac. It's pretty much the track, and then you've got grass on all edges. There's no extra runoff areas to like avoid any other drivers. So we'll see how they deal with it. It is a very short circuit as well. It's I think it's the second shortest circuit on the calendar, just after Monaco. It's like 2.6 kilometers, I think. Oh no, 2.6 miles, I think is the right thing. But either way, it is very, very short, and the drivers are going to struggle. But we will be going qualifying shortly now, 2 minutes. I'll keep you updated on messages from race control and whatnot. But yeah, we have wet conditions on the circuit, but we still should be going qualifying. There's no doubt about that. You've also got GS tickets to next. Oh wow, you got grandstand tickets to next year's Australian Grand Prix as well. That is fantastic. Yeah, 2 years in a row then. Well, hopefully Daniel Ricciardo. Well, maybe Daniel Ricciardo is in the Red Bull next year. We'll just have to wait and see. But all right, let's get going now. Round number 13 of 24, I think, of this year. We are at Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and we have got a 2.6 mile long circuit, 14 corners, pretty steep bankings around here. Nothing to talk about the bankings on these corners. Is going to make it quite easy to know where the puddles are. So as long as you're not on the inside of any of the banking, you are going to be avoiding the puddles. So say at turn number 3, turn number 14, where the track is banked pretty steeply. Like I think at turn number 13, it's like banked at a 18 degree angle or something, which is extremely steep for roads at least. And yeah, the driver and all the rain is going to go down to the inside, so the drivers will be taking different lines than they usually do, because yeah, they want to avoid the puddles and not aquaplane off. We have got George Russell waiting at the end of the pit lane, and he will be just waiting at the end, making sure, trying to get out as soon as possible, and try and get that knowledge as well, because it's pretty important around here. Because on dry conditions, the drivers can just go out in the simulator and get a pretty accurate feel of what the circuit is going to do. Like, of course, everything isn't fine-tuned accurately. They're not going to have the exact same tire response and suspension response on every corner, but it's pretty accurate. Whereas when you're in wet conditions, simulating rain, simulating puddles, the depth of puddles, where the puddles are actually going to occur, and how the curbs and the paint react, it's all extremely difficult, and it's very much the drivers have to drive the circuit, try and gather as much knowledge as they can, and then store that while they're driving around. But it is a green light for Q1 now. The track is clear, and the drivers will get going very shortly. All right. Okie dokes. So, also another thing, since they are near the coast, the wind is quite prominent and quite strong. So we will see a couple of drivers complaining about the wind as well, because, well, as you guys may know, it is it's pretty windy around the coast in all parts of the world. I'm not sure of the exact geographical reason. But yeah, also we got Sergio Perez lining up at the end of the pit lane. And yeah. Also, just a quick shout out to this stream's sponsor, Extra. They essentially make very good wallets. And they're the kind of smart wallets that you can store all of your cards in, and they're very, very slim and compact. If you guys have heard of the Ridge wallet, they're essentially like that, but they have lots of different other options as well, such as leather wallets and stuff. And yeah, they make other things like laptop cases and key rings and stuff like that. And I would suggest that you check them out. Yeah. Code F1 gives you 25% off, as well as a link in the description. So go ahead and check that out. And I'll keep shouting them out occasionally in the next couple of, well, throughout this qualifying session. But we have got now, qualifying is underway. We've got drivers out on the circuit: Alex Albon, Logan Sargent, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Tsunoda, Lawson, Norris, Perez, Sainz, Zhou, Hulkenberg, Piastri. Everyone is filing out on the intermediate tyres, getting ready to do some qualifying. These early laps, I would like to point out, don't particularly mean much because the circuit is drying extremely rapidly. Just looking at Albon driving around the circuit now, the amount of spray that is being shot out is absolutely ridiculous. But that every piece of spray that is flying around is making the circuit drier and drier. So yeah, these early laps, we could see, Lando Norris up on pole position or something. But come towards the end of the session, that's when the real times are coming down. But this is still important, of course. The drivers getting a feel for the car. Maybe we will have seen, because this weather was predicted quite a while back. Like, I'd say probably like 2 weeks ago, they probably knew that it was going to rain this weekend. So the teams may have modified their setups a little bit. They would have gone for slightly higher ride height, adapting the car for the wet, and we'll wait and see how that works out. Hello, Multi Ninja. Yeah, nice to see that you're back. And yeah, hoping for a wet race tomorrow. That would be fantastic. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Rumi, first laps of Q1 are meant for the comedy geniuses to type "stop the count" when we see back markers on pole. That is exactly what you should be doing. I mean, I'm expecting to see quite a lot of memes on Instagram where we see like Liam Lawson in first position, and everyone's like, "Stop the count." Okie dokes. We've got drivers now actually starting their flying laps. We've got George Russell on a flyer, the Williams team as well. And just have a look at this. Alex Albon, purple sectors from Alex Albon. That is fantastic. Unfortunately, getting held up by traffic there, I think. A couple of yellow sectors from him. Traffic not doing wonders, but there we go. Alex Albon crosses the line of 131.1. I mean, we should stop the count right there, to be honest. Are you all sorted out regarding the copyright? Yeah, the previous copyright all got sorted out. Like, I must have been a month ago that it got sorted out, but I can't stop FOM from copywriting me. I've put a little bit in the description stating why this stuff isn't copyrighted and it's fair use. But I mean, it's all down to them if they want to read it or not. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, and there's not really much I can do about it. But I've taken all the precautions I can, apart from slamming a massive banner in the middle of my screen saying this is not violating copyright. So yeah. Okie dokes. We have now got drivers driving around, setting lap times. We've got Valtteri Bottas a 126.0. Liam Lawson crosses the line a 132 from him. And to be honest, I wouldn't even blame him. Just driving around, building up that pace is pretty important. Usually in dry conditions, that you send a driver out like Max Verstappen, just say, right, we want a pole lap from you right now, and he can just go out and do one. And that's the same for most of the other drivers. But in wet conditions, you don't have knowledge of where the grip is, where it isn't. A little bit of experimenting here and there is pretty important. Also, Alex Albon didn't get held up by traffic. He drove into the gravel trap, just braked a little bit too late, and then into the gravel trap for him. We have a Haas that locked up, went straight on into turn number 1. So that's what's happened there. Max Verstappen he locked up also going into turn number one, just narrowly missed the barrier. Oh, I think, yeah, just narrowly missed the barrier as far as I can tell. But yeah, we are having mistakes all around the field, even Max Verstappen making mistakes at his home Grand Prix. So yeah. Oh, we got Logan Sargent in P1. I mean, that is fantastic. The map is lagging. Yes. Ooh, what's happened here? Right. Oh, we've got a lot of lap times deleted. Okay, Albon, Hulkenberg, Leclerc, Verstappen, Tsunoda. They've got their lap times deleted for track limits. So yeah, track limits are still in action in wet conditions, and in fact, I would actually. This is quite to be expected, to be honest, because when the drivers are driving around trying to find grip all different places, they aren't exactly paying attention to where the white lines are. So we'll see how that works out for them. So I think it just lagged because all of the track limit deletions just loaded through. I'm not sure, but hopefully it should be fine. All right, Lando Norris up in pole position for now. We've got Oscar Piastri in second place, Alex Albon behind him. But the times have dipped down now. So at the start of the session, we were in the 126s, and now we are down to the 123s. So yeah, it is. Yeah, times are tumbling as expected. The track is drying up a little bit. It isn't raining, so it isn't raining. So yeah, the circuit will be drying up. Okie doke. So I'm getting a. Is my internet? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Right, that's a little bit weird. Hopefully there aren't any issues there. Yeah, maybe my internet. I'm not 100% certain. Okie dokes. So Sergio Perez up in second place. Also, Max Verstappen. Oh yeah, he did have an issue, and he is currently in 20th position, but he is on a flying lap now. So, yeah, he looks to be doing all right. Okie dokes. Charles Leclerc up in first position. Now we've got the two Ferraris up at the top, just driving around really. I'm going to try and keep on track of all of the incidents that are occurring because there is a fair amount of incidents going on. But the circuit is drying up rapidly here. There isn't any rain that is forecast anymore. So, well, when I checked the forecast, it said it was going to rain, but of course they've got much more accurate forecast at the circuit itself, and it looks like there's not that much rain that's going to be going on. So yeah, we're still seeing like snaps of the rear from all of the drivers. Charles Leclerc getting a little snap coming out of turn number 12 and out of turn number 13, in fact, just looking at his onboard. But these snaps are kind of to be expected, and the drivers are driving around, and lap times are coming in. We're down into the 122s. Max Verstappen puts himself up into second position. Fernando Alonso just narrowly behind him. That is good to see. As we know, rain is a great equalizer, and we are seeing lots of drivers. We're seeing lots of teams getting up in the mix here. We got McLaren, Red Bull, Aston Martin, Mercedes in the top four, Ferrari not too far behind, and yeah. Nico Hulkenberg in ninth position. Alex Albon up into third. That is brilliant. Okie dokes. Yeah, apologies for my slight lack of commentary here. I'm trying to sort out my feed so I can actually watch the race, and then I can not watch the qualifying, so I can actually commentate on it, rather than just relying on the data. Because, yeah, I mean, watching a race is a little bit easier to commentate on. So just give me a second. All right. Yeah, so here we go then. We're on board with Oscar Piastri. Also, I'd just like to point out Liam Lawson in 16th position. He's not doing too badly, a 123.5. He's a second and a half off the top guys, which is quite fantastic, to be honest, considering he's only had one practice session in an F1 car in wet conditions. So his first time driving an F1 car in the wet. He's had no practice this season, as far as I know, and he is doing a fantastic job. So that's great to see from him. Yeah. Also, we've had Charles Leclerc go off the track twice at turn number 1. So yeah, did it on his first lap, locked, and then he did a cool down lap and then did it again. So not great there from Charles Leclerc, just for exceeding track limits at turn number 1. It is looking pretty difficult for him. I mean, lots of drivers are struggling, and in fact, here we are on intermediate conditions now, and the drivers weaving around trying to find a little bit of wet patches on the circuit, maybe to cool their tires down a bit, because a dry line is forming, and the intermediate tires tend to overheat if you dry on the drive line on a dry line too much. Yeah. And once again, the wind has picked up. It is 11.5 kilometers an hour, so that's going to be affecting the drivers, and it's pretty gusty as usual. Pierre Gasly has come over. Well, Pierre Gasly's engineer has come over the radio and said we're expecting rain in 5 minutes' time. So yeah, there we go, 5 minutes, and we could expect some rain. We've only got 6 minutes left in the session though, so it won't be, well, hopefully. It arrives after the qualifying session is over. Lando Norris comes across the line. All 3 purple sectors from Lando Norris. That is fantastic. I mean, yeah. I mean, Lando Norris, he was on track to get that win in Russia a couple of years ago and lost out due to being on the wrong tires at the wrong time. But here he is back, and in these mixed conditions, potentially slick, potentially inters, he is doing a fantastic job. A 121.2. I mean, he is definitely in his natural habitat. It's from the UK where it's always raining. Yeah, in fact, outside my window now, I've got a pretty dark grey cloud, and it will probably rain in like the next 2 hours or so. But yeah, Oscar Piastri as well, a 121.2. Max Verstappen just crosses the line now, a 121.2 as well, marginally ahead of Oscar Piastri. But the McLarens there performing absolutely fantastic in these wet conditions. And with 5 minutes left to go, we've got all of the drivers are either coming out the pits or just coming into the pits now, doing their final bit of refueling, maybe putting on a fresh set of tyres, and then going out racing once again. But yeah, with only 5 minutes left on the clock, the drivers will be doing their final runs now, getting those temperatures into the tyres and trying to get these laps in before the rain hits. So if the weather prediction was accurate, then they've only got a couple minutes now till it starts raining again and track conditions get slower and worse. So currently the elimination zone is Nico Hülkenberg, Liam Lawson, Valtteri Bottas, Kevin Magnussen, and Logan Sargent. We'll wait and see if it stays the same, but yeah, as these conditions change, it is imperative that you are on the circuit at the right time. Lewis Hamilton struggling a little bit with some oversteer and then getting caught up in traffic as well. Was he caught up in traffic? Yeah, I think Lewis was caught up in traffic. Not ideal, but that's kind of what's happening. Yeah. He got blocked by Lance Stroll. It's been noted by race control, and they will probably look into it afterwards. But yeah, Oscar Piastri got blocked by one of the Ferraris, so that's not ideal there. And then I think, yeah, a Ferrari coming out the pit lane wasn't looking in its mirrors and pushed Oscar Piastri off the circuit. Carlos Sainz. It was Carlos Sainz that was the Ferrari. So we'll wait and see what comes of that as well. Okie dokes, Alex Albon, a 120.9. I mean, fantastic job. Hats off to you, Alex Albon. How he has done that, no idea. He goes purple through the third sector, which is the banked corner. That's pretty much one of the only places that you can gain time through the third sector. Well, turn 11, 12, and then 13 is the final sector. And my God, Alex Albon has done a fantastic job through there. We'll see if he stays. Well, I think he was going to make it through Q1, that's for sure. But we'll wait and see what happens for his teammate, who is in 6th place now. He just crosses the line up into 6th position for Logan Sargent. He's done a brilliant job as well. So the Williams performing pretty well in these wet conditions. I'm starting to think maybe Williams did set their car up for wet conditions a lot more than all of the other teams, because it's a little bit of a gamble, because if you set the car up for the wet, you're horrible in the dry. But if you set the car up for the dry, you're not too bad in wet. But of course, I think maybe Williams have just gone full send for wet conditions, and they are, well, it's paying off for them, isn't it? Evidently. All right, with 2 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock, we will have the final few runs of Q1 shortly. Okie dokes. I'm just going to have a quick drink, guys. I will be back in a second. All right, so we have got... Oh, one sec, let me just get the chat up again. Okie dokes. So we have now got all of the drivers now just waiting for their outlaps. You can see this big queue forming here behind Lando Norris. And with a minute left on the clock now, anyone who has started a lap will not be able to get around to do another lap. So here it goes then. We have got pretty big queue. I think the front of the pack is Carlos. Oh no, it's Esteban Ocon is at the front of the pack. Yeah, all right. So here we go then. We have got Sergio Perez starting his lap, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Fernando Alonso. They're all... That's a bit strange. They're starting very, very close to each other. In fact, looking at Norris and Alonso, they are extremely close. Oh, Alonso's just finished his lap, in fact. There we go. So Alonso up into 10th position. Lance Stroll in 7th. We got Logan Sargent now coming across the line. He's starting his flying lap, going right at the death with 18 seconds left on the clock. What's Nico Hülkenberg doing? Nico Hülkenberg is also going right at the end, 10 seconds left on the clock. Sainz is on a flying lap, is he? Sainz makes it through, 4 seconds left on the clock. And Guan Yu Zhou, I think he just makes it through. Yeah, Valtteri Bottas doesn't know. Bottas, though, in 18th position, he crosses the line, does not improve. Valtteri Bottas is out of Q1. Esteban Ocon, he comes across the line, and he stays in 16th position as well. Not an improvement for Esteban Ocon, so both Ocon and Bottas are out. George Russell comes into the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton crosses the line for a 1... Oh, well, he stays in 12th position, but it doesn't really matter, to be honest. Let's see. Next up, Lance Stroll crosses the line. Once again, does not improve. There's no need to improve. The only drivers that need to improve now are Bottas, Leclerc, and Lawson. But I don't know why Leclerc's down there. Well, Leclerc got his lap time deleted. That's what's happened. And he makes it through just into 14th position. Barely makes it through. So unless... who is it? Magnussen or Lawson can knock him out, it looks like Charles Leclerc has made it through. Liam Lawson as well, though. He is a 123.9, so he is still quite a way off the pack. He is 2.5 seconds, in fact, behind Alex Albon. But you know, it's his first time in an F1 car, so it's all right. Let's see. Alex Albon up in pole position. That is still great to see. Guan Yu Zhou, he is in 16th position. Unfortunately, he's been knocked out. Valtteri Bottas, he is knocked out as well. And that is it. Everyone has completed their flying laps. So the elimination zone is Guan Yu Zhou, Esteban Ocon, Kevin Magnussen, Valtteri Bottas, and Liam Lawson. So yeah, that's been Q1, guys. It's been fairly exciting. Circuit has tried out a bit, and if it doesn't rain, which, well, it has been predicted to rain, but if it doesn't, I think by the end of Q3 we could be going on to dry tires. We'll just have to wait and see, and I will keep you updated on the weather, of course. But Alpine said it would rain in 5 minutes, and it is not raining. So yeah, I mean, there are still drops on the cameras and stuff, but I think that might have just been from before. All right. So let's have a look. Ooh. All right, I will keep you updated on any of the incidents that happened as well. There was an incident between Hamilton and Stroll, and between who was it? Hamilton. There was Hamilton and Stroll and Sainz and another car. I forgot what car it was. But yeah, they might get grid penalties for that. You'll have to keep a lookout for that, either after the session or now. Oh, it's between Piastri and Sainz, and it will be investigated after the session. That's what the FIA have said. And yeah. All right. Well, I'll keep you updated on what happens afterwards as well. Yeah, but Alex Albon up in first position, so the Williams car is doing great. In fact, even Logan Sargent has made it through in 15th position. So yeah, Williams car looking good. Logan Sargent doing a good job as well. But yeah, as we know, Alex Albon is very, very quick in that Williams car, and he's doing a great job as well. I think it's a bit of that like low pressure environment when you are at Red Bull. There's extremely high pressure on you to there's extremely high pressure on you to perform well and consistently deliver those high performances. Whereas when you are at Williams, you do have a little bit less pressure and a more of a relaxed environment. So, yeah, I think much more drivers like thrive in that sort of environment, and as we are seeing, doing a fantastic job indeed. Stay close to the mic. You're dropping off. Thank you. Can they go into the soft to medium now? Yep, they can go into soft to medium now. There aren't any sort of restrictions, but yeah, I wouldn't advise you to do that. It is still fairly dry. Like there is a dry line that is forming, but it has not completely formed yet. So, and the other thing is, you've got to consider, because this is qualifying. If it was the race, then sure, dry tires would be fine. But in qualifying, you have to go off the dry line to let another driver past when you're doing a slow lap and someone else is on a hot lap. So if you are on slick tires, sure, if you just drive on the dry line, you'll be fine. But anytime you have to get out of the way of another driver, you're totally screwed, because you'll have to drive all over the wet track. That will completely cool down your tires, and building up any sort of tire temperature after that is completely out of the question. So yeah. Your mic sound is right. I will. Yeah, I was having mic issues last stream, but they'd sort of fixed themselves when I checked. But I'm gonna continue monitoring them now. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah. Okay. Right. So, oh, it's a little bit weird now because I have to listen to my own voice to make sure the mic isn't messing up. But now I've got to listen to my own voice while talking, which is a little bit strange. But we'll move. So yeah, Albon has definitely got some pace. We'll see how that works out for them. Is he going to continue to make it through into Q3? I think he will. I would, yeah, Alex Albon will make it through into Q3. The microsect effect feature, yeah, thank you very much. I mean, I haven't coded this part myself, but yeah, the microsectors are pretty cool, pretty useful, especially on qualifying laps, just to see who is improving, who isn't, and where on what certain parts of the circuit are they improving. Yeah, okay, I get what you mean about my mic crackling a little bit. Yeah, I would just like to point out we are still having lots of drivers lock up, go straight on at turn number 1. We've had Magnussen and Leclerc 2 times. When's it going to start? Q2 is going to start in 4 minutes, I think. 4 minutes is it's either 3 or 4 minutes, so not long now. Oh, in fact, you know what? Completely ignore me. It's just started right now, and we've got Logan Sargent coming out of the pit lane. There we go. Sargent's out. Alex Albon will be coming out shortly. Verstappen's out onto the circuit as well. I think they're coming out early now because they know, well, it was expected that it was going to rain, so you might as well come out, set and bank a lap just in case. And they are coming out on intermediate tyres, so still nobody risking it for the wet conditions. And I mean, risking it for the dry tyres, I don't think there's any need to. But nevertheless, a good job from all 15 drivers involved. And also, I would like to point out now, we've only got 15 drivers on the circuit. That's going to reduce the traffic, reduce the load on the engineers, the drivers, to, you know, what's it? Oh, yeah, to just keep informing everyone about the traffic. And just before everyone starts doing their flying laps, I'm trying to keep you guys, well, let you guys know about this stream sponsor. Their sponsor is Exter. They make like really slim, compact wallets and a couple of other things as well, like laptop cases and key rings and that sort of stuff. And yeah, they're sponsoring today's stream. If you use code F1 or the link in the description, you will get 25% off. And a quick, if you guys know of what the Ridge wallet is, it's essentially very, very similar to that, but yeah, I would say it's better quality, of course, because they are sponsoring me. But nevertheless, I do have their products and they are great. And yeah. So I suggest that you guys check them out. And even if you aren't particularly interested, go ahead and just click the link because it'll help the channel out a lot. Yeah. I mean, if you want to help out the channel, just like click the link and then you can close the tab, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But yeah. So that's a sponsor. Right, back to Q2. We've got all the drivers out onto the circuit. In fact, here we go. Ooh, what's happened there? My mic has just cut out. Okay, we're back. So let's follow a lap between Alex Albon and Max Verstappen. So just looking at the circuit here, Alex Albon and Max Verstappen, they're pretty equally matched on the circuit. There's about half of the circuit where Alex Albon's faster than Verstappen, and there's a half of the circuit where Verstappen's faster than Albon. So, and there's no particular parts like Albon's faster on the straights, Verstappen's faster in the corners. Like it's pretty different throughout. So this is very much driver performance as far as I can tell, because usually say if Verstappen's always faster through the corners, it's usually to do with the Red Bull car having like a different suspension setup that's better for slow speed corners or something. But here we're seeing Verstappen and Albon trading blows pretty equally throughout all of the circuit. So Albon is doing a fantastic job and he should not be overlooked. Do I think he's going to get pole position? Maybe not, but could he definitely be up in the top 5? Like, definitely. And I would love to see that because it is raining tomorrow as well. So Alex Albon is in for a good shout. And yeah. Okie doke. So Max Verstappen crosses the line, a 121.9. Logan Sargent crosses the line, a 123.1. Perez goes a 125.0. A little bit, well, pretty slow there for Sergio Perez, but we'll see. We'll probably just building up to his pace, if I'm being totally honest with you. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see what Alex Albon can do. He is currently... Where is Alex Albon? Oh, he's coming around the final corner. And here he comes across the start-finish line and puts himself up into 3rd position. Oh, my microphone is having a bad day. Okay. Yeah, Alex Albon up in 3rd position. Hope my mic was working fine before. Okay, it's starting to work again. Okay. But yeah, Max Verstappen still up in 1st position of 121.9, and no one else is particularly getting close to that right now. Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3, testing. Okay. my mic is hopefully still going to continue working. Verstappen improves 120.7. So it's just, continuing. And even on old tyres, he's still improving. So that is a good job from him. Yeah. All right. We've got Logan Sargent in a 121.7, Stroll in third, Russell fourth, Alonso fifth. I mean, the times are pretty close up here at the top. If you ignore, Verstappen and Sargent somehow, there are quite a lot of drivers in the 122s. Leclerc just goes to 121.9. So circuit is still definitely getting faster, and we'll just see how that works out for all the drivers. But drivers still on intermediate tyres. The circuit is looking pretty dry, and in fact, the sun has come out as well. So potentially chances to go onto the slicks. Also, we're seeing a couple of track limits extensions. We saw Pierre Gasly go all the way wide at turn number 3, all over the curb and then over the grass and the dirt as well. Not ideal for those tyres or the front wing, because the vibrations that the curb gives is ridiculous. But yeah, turn 3 is one weird corner. Like, everyone takes the outside most possible line because it hooks you in, and it's ridiculous. But it's very strange. You should look into it. Basically, the banking gets steeper and steeper the further outside you go, and essentially you want as steep as banking as possible. So taking the outside line is actually quicker than going in the inside line, which is very strange. But it's one of the quirks of this circuit, and the circuit is fantastic. Also, the sun has come out, which is what I said before, but there are massive grey, thunderclouds in the distance, and they're not too far in the distance. So, who knows what's going to happen with the weather, but the driver's still driving around on those inter tyres. Max Verstappen isn't improving anymore. Well, in fact, he's just set a purple first sector, but we'll see how he does throughout the second sector. Oscar Piastri up into second place, Stroll and Alonso in third and fourth. Alex Albon, once again, a 120.9. He only goes marginally slower than Verstappen. Norris crosses the line. He goes ahead of Verstappen, a 120.6. So, yeah, brilliant job there from Lando Norris, and we'll see what Max Verstappen has to say about that. But Verstappen, purple through the first sector, purple through the second sector, and we'll see what you can do in the third sector. But Hamilton, in fact, takes away his purple first sector. So Hamilton now on a roll here, green and purple through the first sector, and he looks to be on an absolutely flying lap. He's got a little bit of traffic ahead of him. He's got his teammate, but his teammate should get out of the way because Mercedes can tell him that he's coming. So Hamilton looks to be on for a good lap. We got Logan Sargent coming out of the final corner now. Comes across the line, puts himself up into 7th. No big improvement. Sergio Perez crosses the line, stays in 8th position. He's starting a lap now. Russell crosses the line, puts himself up into 4th. Hamilton now, after a brilliant lap, up into 3rd position. But Verstappen, once again, he did improve, and it is a 120.2. Apologies for the map glitching, guys. I'm not 100% certain of what the cause is, but I'm gonna hopefully fix it a little bit. I don't know exactly what to do to fix it, to be honest, because I haven't exactly coded it, but yeah, I'm just going to let it fix itself, really. Hopefully it's not my dodgy internet. Okay, also, guys, if you can hit the like button, that would be fantastic. It would definitely help out the channel a lot. Yeah, if we've only got 700 people. Well, 700 people is still ridiculous. It would fill up so many lecture theatres and stuff, but yeah, a little bit less than usual. To be honest, I missed the last stream, didn't I? So it's kind of my fault. Well, FOM's fault, because they banned me. But yeah, there we go. It happens. Okay, so also I would like to let you know the spray is getting less and less. There's nowhere near as much spray as there was before, and yeah, I think it's going to be. Let's just have a look at what Science's radio says. Yeah. Science has just come over the radio. Right. Let's hope this mic doesn't break. Okay, Science has just come over the radio and said it's drying really quickly, and we could come out on the. Could go out on the dry tires. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Does he come out for the driver's eyes? Skipped frames. This might be my internet, to be honest. Usually my internet's pretty good. But just give me a second, guys. I will be... What is happening here? Why is it my... the thing that I'm using for the data is using 8 gigs of RAM. But I don't want to close it because that might... Right, okay. Well, that's what's causing it. You know what, guys? I'm going to refresh the data. Just give me a second. Right, it'll take 30 seconds. Apologies for that, but yeah, it's counting down, in fact, from 20 seconds. You can't see it, but it's counting down, and we'll have the map and the data loaded up in a second. Yeah, that's just my internet. Okay, well, I'll keep you updated on what's going on. We've got 4 minutes left to go on the clock, and the driver's just, well, okay, hopefully that's going to fix it. 4 minutes left on the clock. We've got Max Verstappen currently in first position. A couple more drivers coming out onto the track. I think everyone's just done an outlap now, and they'll be starting their flying lap shortly because everyone's refueled the car, put in a fresh set of medium tires, and they are ready to go qualifying. Okay, so Sergio Perez crossed the line, a 120.6 from him, so good improvement there from Max Verstappen's teammate, and he is currently one position behind him in second place. All right. Oscar Piastri is on a outlap. Okay, Alex Albon, look at this. Purple first sector from Alex Albon. I mean, this man is just on a mission, doing a fantastic job. He's only got Oscar Piastri ahead of him for traffic. Hopefully Piastri gets out of the way, because I would love to see Alex Albon stick it on pole once again. He is 1.3 seconds behind Max Verstappen overall, and he's only 2 seconds behind Piastri on the leaderboard. Piastri gets out of the way, Alex Albon into the braking zone of turn 11, does not go into the gravel like he did last time, and he is doing all right. If the feed goes blurry on your screen, you can just press the setting icon and increase the quality again. For some reason, YouTube just wants to reduce the quality. I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, YouTube's been doing some weird stuff for it lately. They've been trying to stick adverts during the middle of a live stream. So I mean, yeah, because they just want to get as much money as possible. So yeah, but I've turned that feature off, so hopefully you guys aren't getting adverts. I might stick one in at the end of, between qualifying sessions, because YouTube would much prefer. Oh my God, that's why. Yeah, I've just turned off automatic adverts, and YouTube isn't showing my stream to anyone, and Racing Statistics, I presume, has got automatic adverts on. Oh, this is such a mess. Okay, I'll explain it all to you guys tomorrow. Oh, my mic. Okay, hello. Hello. Testing. Hello. Okay. It's a bit of a mess. I'll explain it to you tomorrow, about the whole YouTube thing. And it might have to be for me to actually get people to watch my stream, I'll have to turn on adverts because YouTube is just extremely annoying. But yeah, in fact, I'll do it at the end of today's stream. But anyway, let's get back to the actual qualifying session at hand. We've got 1 minute left on the clock. We have Oscar Piastri up in first place. Before that, we had Alex Albon up in first place. And before that, we had George Russell up in first place. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the time difference between Piastri and Albon is 7 milliseconds. It is extremely close up there at the top. Max Verstappen is currently on an outlap, and he will be starting his final flying lap. We have 54 seconds left on the clock. Quite a big queue forming here at the final couple of corners. Lewis Hamilton maybe got blocked by Yuki Tsunoda. I'm not 100% certain there. But we'll wait and see. We'll see what comes through from race control. Lewis Hamilton crossed the line up into 8th position. And it's, he went pretty slow through the final sector, so maybe that was traffic. We will see in a bit. All right, Tsunoda starts his flying lap. So does Verstappen. So does Gasly, Alonso, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc. All coming through now. 20 seconds left on the clock. And Charles Leclerc, in fact, he's finishing his lap. He's currently in 13th position. Charles Leclerc crosses the line up into third position. Fantastic lap from him, a 1:19.600. And that should take him through into Q3. Who knows, though? Track conditions are improving rapidly. And Oscar Piastri now comes across the line. He stays in first position and does not improve on his previous time. In fact, goes 0.4 of a second slower. Next, we have Lance Stroll coming across the line. He's had a green first sector, a yellow second sector, and now just coming out the final corner. No DRS as of yet because it is still slightly wet, and comes across the line and is in 8th position. So it does not improve, unfortunately, and could get knocked out of this qualifying. We've got Sergio Perez. He crosses a line and he once again does not improve. Nico Hülkenberg, he improves but stays in 10th position, unfortunately. A 10th behind Lewis Hamilton, who's in 9th. Yuki Tsunoda crossed the line. He pushed himself up into 10th position. Max Verstappen puts himself up into first position, going a full half a second faster than the competition. And we've got Gasly now up into 9th. So both Tsunoda and Hülkenberg in the elimination zone. Lewis Hamilton backs out of his lap, pulls into the pits. And Hamilton is knocked out. Hamilton is knocked out of this qualifying session. He's in 12th position. George Russell, he comes across the line and he is in 6th. And then we have Logan Sargent finally crossing the line and he puts himself up into 10th just right at the end. Scrapes his way through into Q3. I mean, that's both Williams into Q3. That is, oh my God. I mean, the Williams team must be overjoyed right now. They've just made it through into Q3, which is brilliant to see. The circuit is definitely drying up and we could be seeing intermediate tyres. I mean, we're seeing Sainz here. Sainz was driving over the wet part of the circuit because he wanted to cool his tyres down a little bit. So, yeah, tyres are overheating a little bit. We could see dry tyres. But two Williams through into Q3. I mean, this is great to see. And Oscar Piastri in second place. A little bit of a surprise that Hamilton is knocked out. But apart from that, it is the usual suspects that have made it through into Q3. Stroll doesn't make it through. Alonso does. Yeah, Gasly doesn't, unfortunately. So the drivers that have been eliminated are Stroll, Gasly, Hamilton, Tsunoda, and Hülkenberg. Unfortunately, Hülkenberg usually makes it through into Q3, usually has an absolutely brilliant qualifying in that Haas car. But unfortunately, he is out of qualifying. Yeah. Yeah, WTF is a kilometer. But Logan Sargent just made it through. I mean, that meme is, I actually love that meme. It's so good. Yeah. Right. Okay, I'm just going to quickly explain why tomorrow's stream might have to have adverts in it in the middle. Basically, what happens is YouTube has a whole bunch of information that it's like, I mean, I think most of you guys must have heard of what the YouTube algorithm is. It's just like decides how to recommend videos to you. And basically how the YouTube algorithm works is you give it a bunch of inputs, like this live stream's about F1 and it's about the Dutch Grand Prix and I have, like 55,000 subscribers or something. And then it also tells the algorithm that this video has got automatic adverts turned on or turned off. And the algorithm, they can basically say, if the video's got automatic adverts turned on, then show this video to everyone. And if it's not got automatic adverts, then don't show it to anyone. So I turned them off because I didn't want to, spam adverts in your face. But by the looks of it, YouTube has gone pretty aggressive. They're like, because usually I think I get like 4,000 people during QUALI or 2,000, 3,000 or something. So yeah, so maybe you guys are gonna have to get adverts, and then I'll try and make it so they're just like skippable 5-second adverts, but I can't guarantee anything. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it won't be Twitch. It won't be Twitch where you get 8 adverts in a row, and I will experiment and try and see if I can add them in myself. Because I think if I press this button now, it's gonna add an advert, right? Guys, let me know if you get an advert. I don't know. but yeah, there is a button that apparently gives you an ad that I can. It's a bit strange, but I'll try and figure that out because, of course, there's a balance between getting an advert like all the time and getting an advert like every once in a while. Okay, you got an advert, fair enough. I guess the button works, but YouTube wants to decide when they press the button rather than me pressing the button. So, yeah, it's all rather complicated. I'll mess with settings and you guys just let me know. It's just a 5-second advert. Well, fair enough then. If it's only a 5-second advert, then it should be all right. Yeah. I mean, I personally find it quite annoying, but of course, it's better to have. I think it would be better to have like 10,000 people watching and have an advert than have 700 people watching and have no adverts. I don't know. All right. Yeah, and I mean, if you guys are watching on a computer, you can just get uBlock Origin, and that just blocks all adverts. Yeah, it's just an extension that you can add to your Chrome or Firefox or whatever. Fair enough. Yeah, if you don't see adverts, you have AdBlock. Who cares? AdBlock does work. Yeah. Okie dokes. Anyway, Q3 will be starting shortly now. I think it's going to start, Q3 starting in 1 minute's time now. So not long whatsoever. DRS has been enabled, guys. DRS has been enabled. So FIA deems it dry enough to be dry conditions. So maybe we're going to see dry tires. Yeah, the drivers were previously on intermediates, as you can see on the graphic, but we could see dry tires. It is, as I said, very tricky though, because if you do have to go off the circuit, then you are going off the racing line, sorry, then you are going to get wet tires. Yeah, not in Chrome. Yeah, I mean, I looked at this. Chrome does some weird stuff, basically because Google owns Chrome, and most of Google's business is off making adverts. They like essentially disabled ad block on Chrome or something. Because they want to make more money, because obviously making 27 billion isn't enough. You have to make 28 billion. Anyway, all right, I'm going to stop ranting on about ads and whatnot, and we'll get back to qualifying. We will have a green light at the end of the pit lane shortly. And yeah, if you guys do really want to add some views to the stream or anything, then just refresh the stream. But yeah, all right, so I've just been looking at the onboards and stuff, and what's happened is there is a very clear dry line, especially where because it has been the sun has been shining as well. The sun has been shining. The circuit has definitely dried up a lot, because usually if there's puddles or so, they get wiped out by the spray, and then bless me. And then the sunshine kind of gets rid of all of the damp spots and dries the circuit out a little bit. So that's exactly what happened. The drivers drove over the track, got rid of all of the puddles, and then the sunshine has now dried out the circuit, and we could see some dry tires. All right. Yeah, also, the incident where Hamilton went slowly in the third sector. Hamilton got knocked out because he got blocked by Yuki Tsunoda, and that is currently under investigation. Well, oh no, sorry. It's been noted, so I think they're going to investigate it at the end of the session. So that's what we'll see there. All right, so we have got Oscar Piastri coming out onto the circuit, George Russell out on the circuit, everyone else coming out as well, and ooh, look at this. Oh, Alex Albon, George Russell, Sainz, and Sargent are on soft tires. But Perez and someone else. Perez and one of the Ferraris. Perez and Sainz, they're out on inters, I think. Yeah, Perez is out on inters. Sainz is out on softs. Leclerc's out on inters. Okay, we got a bit of a split strategy here, so we've got to see now what's going on here, and what tires are working out best. So let's keep an eye out on for this. So we've got Alex Albon on the softs, Alonso's out on inters, Russell's out on softs. I mean, I wish I could see the tire temperature information right now. That would be brilliant, but yeah. Yeah, sure. And if you press the settings icon and then put it up to the maximum quality, then it will clear itself up again. Yeah, YouTube's annoying, really. But that's the only place I can really stream. Yeah, settings and then quality, and then just put it up to the highest setting there is. All right, Max Verstappen comes out on intermediate tires, so we've got a mix here. Five drivers on softs, 5 drivers on intermediates. Let's see how this goes. All right, Alex Albon, first driver out. He is setting purple sectors, but of course they're only purple because he's the first driver to set them. And who beats him? Carlos Sainz is going quicker on the soft tires, but the soft tires so far look to be faster. But here comes Charles Leclerc is coming into the pit lane. Charles Leclerc, who was previously out on the intermediate tires, has come into the pits, and I think he's going to be switching onto the softs. That's what I'm expecting because he only did one lap. He only did an out lap, and he'll be coming in shortly. Norris and Perez come out onto the circuit. I think they're coming out on soft as well. Yep. Okay, so the soft tires are the way forward. Soft tires are faster. All right. There we go. Also, guys, just quickly before everyone starts doing their flying laps, today's stream sponsor is Exeter, and they make they make slim, compact wallets, and a bunch of other stuff, like laptop cases and like key rings and key holders and stuff like that. And they are sponsoring today's stream. So if you guys are interested in a nice new wallet to gift someone or to have yourself, then you'd get 25% off with the code F1. And yeah, just a quick little explanation of. I think many of you must have seen Ridge Wallet. They've had loads of adverts all over YouTube, but it's essentially like that. But they do have a lot more different options. Like you can have a leather one as well. And it's, yeah, quite brilliant. Oh, we've got a red flag. What's happened here? Logan Sargent crashing at turn number 2. It's going over that crest over there. So essentially what happens is the drivers drive over the crest and have to start turning the car for turn number 3. And if you lose the car over there or go slightly offline, like Logan Sargent may have on those on the slick tires in wet conditions, just dips a tire onto the dry part, onto the wet part of the circuit, and the car just does a nice little 360 for you. So yeah, Mr. WTF is a kilometer has crashed, unfortunately. Right, it went straight to a red flag as well. So it must have been a pretty severe incident. I will try and describe what's happened here. So let's have a look. His front and his rear tires are not broken, but they fell off, or not fell off. They're not on the suspension rods or the track rods. He's okay. He's come over the radio and said he's fine. And we're gonna get a replay very, very shortly, and we'll see what happens. A red flag if Albon's in P1. Well, the clock pauses itself. The clock isn't ticking anymore. If it was a practice session, so it would tick down to 0, but we still have 18 minutes left on the clock. So, yeah. All right, let's see. I know what track conditions are different for all tracks, but I'm curious if the soft versus the new soft would warm better for the track transition period. Yeah, used soft versus new soft. Well, see, that's the thing. Aston Martin, what they do is on all of their soft tires, they drive around for like 1 lap, 2 laps, just before, like in the practice sessions before they actually use them in the race because they think that it works better. And I'm not sure, like that's what they think. The Mercedes team think that that's not the way to do it. But it's yeah, interesting. All right, so we've got the replay from Logan Sargent. So here he goes into turn number 2, and he just turns the car, and the car just does a full 360. Well, not 3. It does a 180. But he just loses the car, and it's very strange. And it looks like the rear of the car just disappeared out of him. But I think what happened was he was just very slightly offline, like by the narrowest of margins, he was slightly off the dry line, and he dipped his rear tire onto the wet part of the circuit, and round went the car. And that's the only way of describing it, really, because I think that's what's happened. I can't see there's no camera that's 10 meters behind Logan Sargent. There was no one driving behind him. But from where he was, from his onboard, that's kind of what it looked like. He dabbed the brake a little bit, and the car just did a nice little 180. But the crane is out onto the circuit now. They've picked up his car, and we will be going. We'll be doing the final 8 minutes of qualifying shortly now. Yeah, both Williams made it through. Unfortunately, we do have Logan Sargent, who has now crashed. But he did set a pretty respectable time of 1:16.7. I suspect, though, that will drop down and improve, get probably promptly put down into 10th position. Yeah, Williams the one too. I mean, Logan Sargent did it. I think he just forgot the fact that qualifying, it restarts after a red flag, whereas practice doesn't. All right. We've got 875 people watching. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Very much do appreciate the support, guys. Albon has a chance to get pole. Well, I would say potentially, but as we get closer and closer to dry conditions, the Williams get slowly worse and worse. We'll just have to see, though. I think it will be Verstappen. I hate to be boring, but it's Verstappen. He's had his home race. He's had the best car all year round. But I mean, I would love to see Alex Albon in pole position, but I just don't know if that was going to happen. Yeah. Maybe if it starts raining. If it does start raining, that'd be welcome. I'd love to see the race start with Albon and Sargent in first and second place. Yeah, hopefully it does rain. Yeah, Sargent just asked the mechanics, "What are you doing tonight? Hope you didn't have any plans." I mean, the damage to his car. Yeah, the damage to his car is pretty bad. I'm not going to try and underestimate it. He's damaged his front left suspension, and his rear wing and his rear suspension as well. So there's a fair amount of work to do, and he hit the rear of his car into the barrier, so they're going to have to check the gearbox, check the engine, make sure nothing's damaged there as well. Yeah, the mechanics are going to be pretty busy tonight. They're just going to be clearing up the gravel now, making it flat, moving the barrier around to ensure that it is good to go. Yeah, so I'm just rewatching the replay. Logan Sargent having issues with understeer, just steering the car, trying to jab the car in, and I think he maybe went over the curb as well. Also, a correction on my part, Logan Sargent, he didn't hit the rear of the car into the barrier. He only had a slight tap of the rear of the car into the barrier. He very much hit the front of the car into the barrier. So his engine and gearbox should be fine. His front right suspension, though, not so much. Ooh, okay. Also, thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure to hit the like button if you are enjoying. And yeah, be sure to subscribe as well. Okie dokes, yeah. Just watching the replay, Logan Sargent. So his front tires weren't on the curb, but if you guys know how, well, the front tires in Formula One are thinner than the rear tires. The rear tires, I think, are 1.5 times wider. So Logan Sargent's front tires weren't on the curb, whereas his rear tires were. He can't exactly see his rear tires, but yeah, that's kind of just what happens when you're in F1, and you kind of have to be aware of the fact that your rear tires are wider than your fronts. So yeah, is the rain forecast in 2 minutes? No, unfortunately there is not any rain forecast. It is the sun is shining pretty brightly right now in Zandvoort. So yeah, that's the rain is unfortunately not where it is, not where you want it to be if you want Alex Albon on pole position. Okie dokes. The track is clear in sector 4, so I think that's, yeah, the part of the circuit is clear. Logan Sargent has been picked up onto the back of the lorry, and they should be ready to go racing shortly now, unless there's some barrier damage, but I don't think there will be any. It wasn't that severe of an impact. Well, it was pretty severe, but it wasn't, the level to damage the barrier, sorry. Okie dokes. Let's have a look. Well, everyone's just waiting around, really. They aren't really showing what's happening on the circuit. All right. I will also, I'll let you know what upgrades everyone got. So F1 Dutch upgrades. So, actually, quite a lot of teams actually brought upgrades. But let's have a look of what. So the teams that didn't. So Ferrari, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, and Williams didn't bring any upgrades. But we have upgrades for the Aston Martin. They upgraded their floor and their diffuser. And then the Haas have upgraded their front wing. Unfortunately, they damaged 2 of their front wings, and they only have 1 upgraded front wing now. So I don't know which driver that has it, but I think it's probably Hülkenberg, considering that he's higher up. Mercedes have a bunch of aerodynamic tweaks on the floor, on the mirrors, to just tweak the airflow of the car, try to make it as efficient as possible. I don't know when the red flag will be over. I'm trying to... They're basically not showing the car on the feed. On the GPS, it says that Logan Sargent's on the middle of the map. But... yeah, I can't see anything. Liam Lawson is replacing Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo's got a broken hand or a broken wrist. So that is why, and he got that broken wrist from a crash, in fact. So yeah, maybe the FAA are going to look into that. Maybe try and, because I know the F1 steering wheels have like power steering, but maybe there's something they can do to try and reduce the chances of getting broken wrists. I mean, usually in a crash, what you're meant to do is you're meant to let go of the steering wheel. Just so that doesn't happen, so you don't break your wrist trying to hold on to a steering wheel. But I don't know under the exact conditions of how Daniel Ricciardo broke his wrist. Yeah, they're checking the barriers. Yeah, I guess that's what they're doing. Fair enough, isn't it? Okie dokes. Red Bull have upgraded the beam wing. So basically the structure that attaches the rear wing to the car, there's a little part where you can add another like sort of mini rear wing in, and they've upgraded that. McLaren have brought a new rear wing assembly. So that's what McLaren have done. AlphaTauri have also modified their rear wing and brought some upgrades there. And then, yeah, Ferrari, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, and Williams with no upgrades. Right. Yeah, still a red flag. Still drivers just checking, well, still the marshals just checking the barriers, ensuring nothing happens. Logan Sargent is out because of a crash at turn number 2. And yeah, they're checking the barriers, so that's why we are still in a red flag. All right. Yeah. Also, guys, if you are new to the stream, because I think we've got a couple more people watching, the sponsor of today's stream is Exeter, and there is a link in the description, which would really help out the channel if you just click. You don't have to, don't have to buy anything, but you can just click the link. That would really help out the channel. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Go ahead and press that. And if you want to buy something, then code F1 will give you 25% off everything. So there you go. Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo broke his wrist after a crash in FP2. Okie dokes. Oh, Zandvoort is, as I said, Zandvoort's out on the coast. So that's why the wind is at 8.6 kilometers an hour. But also, since they're out on the coast, on the beach, they've literally painted in a Dutch flag on the beach right next to the circuit. And they're just showing that now on the TV feed while they are fixing up the barriers. Who replaces Danny Rick? Liam Lawson. So, as you can see, Liam Lawson is currently in 20th position. He's had one practice session in a Formula 1 car in wet conditions, and I'd say it's not too bad of a job. He is, of course, 2.5 seconds behind. Well, he's, 1 second behind Valtteri Bottas. So, of course, it's not He's not like ridiculously quick, but nevertheless, still a very good effort considering he's done an hour of practice. Yeah. All right. Also, I was just looking at the graphics. So the graphics suggest that Alex Albon is approximately 4/10 faster than Logan Sargent in most cases. So, okay, yeah. So the delay is due to the barrier repairs. They are repairing the barrier, and that is why we still have a red flag. Yeah. Okie dokes. Also, anyone that is new tuning in, Lewis Hamilton in 13th position. That is because he got blocked on his final flying lap. And yeah, it is going to rain. It was going to rain. It rained before the session started. We started off Q1 and Q2 in wet conditions, and now we're in dry conditions. Yeah, they're repairing the barriers. They've got about 10 marshals on the scene, just moving around the Tempro and the tires and all of the other equipment that they have to ensure the safety of the drivers. So yeah, they'll be done shortly now. It's not too long. Yuki Tsunoda blocked Lewis going into the final corner. So yeah, he might get a penalty. They are going to investigate it after the session. I think this is the same for Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz. They had a little bit of a tangle at turn number 3. Yeah. Okie dokes. Right. Ooh, guys, let me know how you enjoyed your summer break. What do you guys get up to? When are wallet manufacturers going to stop the nonsense about RFID blocking to product protect? So I don't know exactly what you are referring to, D-mail. But yeah. All right. So let's have a look. Yeah, let me know what you guys got up to in the summer break on the weekends, of course, because F1, if you watch every single F1 race on the weekend, that's 24 races. That's half of the year's weekends gone. So, that's pretty well. Yeah. Of course, on the summer break, you get a full month of no F1, I think, or 3 weeks or something. So, yeah, let me know what you guys got up to on those weekends. The extra wallets. Well, I think I know about how the RFID blocking works. I'm pretty sure if you stick like a special type of plastic in between a credit card and like a card scanner, it stops it from scanning. So, yeah, a winter here in South Africa has been cooped up at home. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. The southern hemisphere. It's winter, isn't it? Yeah, here in the UK, it's been quite sunny. Well, sunny occasionally, and then it's been raining. Oh, guys, we've got the green flag out. Drivers are finally ready to go racing again. It's not, is it green? Oh, wait, track is clear. It's not green flag, sorry. Apologies. We have green flag in 2 minutes' time. What's my favorite circuit? I would say my favorite circuit is Suzuka. Suzuka is just very fun to drive. Well, it's not the most fun on the F1 games because of the curbs. On the F1 games, the curbs are ridiculous, but Suzuka is a very fun circuit to drive, yeah. All right, yeah, session restarting in 2 minutes' time. Austria is also a very good circuit as well. In fact, I think on the F1 2019 game, I'm like, on the Austria time trial, I'm like top 500. I spent way too long on it though. I spent like, it must have been on the magnitude of like 20, 30 hours trying to set a fast lap time around Austria. Admittedly, it made me faster in every part on every circuit, not just Austria, but yeah, I spent um, far too long playing the F1 2019 game. Yeah, I think it was because it was lockdown or something. Yeah, it must have been lockdown. Yeah, just came in the both Williams are in Q3. What's happened there? Yeah, unfortunately, one of the Williams has crashed. But yeah, two Williams making it through. It was wet in Q3, in Q1 and Q2. So Williams doing exceptionally well in the wet conditions, and now it has completely dried up, and it is definitely dry conditions on the circuit. Admittedly, though, it's not fully dry. There are still parts of the circuit that are wet, that are damp. So drivers still have to be pretty careful about that to not go off the racing line too much. Yeah, during the F1 break, I had a 6-week holiday. Wow, 6-week holiday. That is fantastic. Heard this year's F1 game is pretty good. Not my kind of game, so yeah. Yeah, the F1 games, they're all right, but they're made by EA, and the problem with them is that they're just the same game every single year with slightly tweaked physics and just the different car models. Like if they had the F1 game, but they just updated it every year, that'd be fantastic. Like say every 7 years when they changed the cars, so like from 2017 to 2021, they had the same game, and just they tweaked the car models every single year because they were basically the same car. I would have been fine with buying the game, but it's EA, and they just release the same game every year, and it's just a bit of a waste of money, to be honest. Anyway, we are finally back to go qualifying. Drivers are out onto the circuit. We got Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon, Alonso, Russell, Leclerc, Norris. Everyone's coming out, all on soft tyres as expected. Yeah, everyone's out onto the circuit now. Okay, next we got the final 8 minutes of qualifying, and then we will be going racing tomorrow. Right. We've got Carlos Sainz just coming through the first set. Actually, guys, I don't think I gave you a tour of the circuit, kind of. But, well, you know what? Might as well just do that now. Okay, so this is the start-finish straight, the one and only DRS zone on the circuit. Then you go through into turn number one. You've got a big gravel trap up at the end of turn number one, but you go brake around the 70-meter mark and hook the car around in fourth gear. You've got a nice bit of banking there to get you around as well. So in fact, let's just follow Carlos Sainz. So here he goes through the first corner, and then through this kink into turn number two. You go over the crest here, you lose a little bit of grip, and then you go downhill to turn number three. You take the outside line here because there's so much banking. It's actually better to go on the outside line than it is the inside. Then you go through turn number four, turn number five. It's just minor little kinks in the road here. Through six, and now you go downhill towards seven. It's very high G loading. You brake a little bit, downshift 1 or 2 gears, and then through into 7. Turn 8 and 9. Turn 9 is extremely tricky because you're braking and turning at the same time here. But you make it through. The curbs are pretty violent as well on the exit of turn number 9. Through 10, you go once again. Oh, I think there's DRS here. I only think there's one. I think there's only one DRS zone on the circuit. Yeah, it's too short of a straight to have DRS. Sainz aborts his lap. Alex Albon goes through into 11. There's a big gravel trap here, so if you do make a mistake, it's all right. And then through 12, 13, another big gravel trap. This gravel trap is very, very steep. And through 13, you just try and get a very good exit here. And turn of 14, very big banking. But on this banking, you want to stay on the inside of the corner because if you go on the outside, it is faster, but you end up, you have a higher speed going through, but you travel a longer distance, so it's not worth it. And Alex Albon comes into the pits after that lap. A little bit strange, but there you go. All right, George Russell crosses the line, and that's a 1:12.5. Wow, the times have definitely tumbled. We had Sargent on a 1:16, and after like a 10-minute break and a bit of sunshine, we're down into the 1-minute 12s. So yeah, circuit rapidly improving.
All right, we've got Lando Norris up in first position, just ahead of Oscar Piastri, and Sergio Perez crossed the line into fifth position. Max Verstappen crosses the line. He's only in third. Wow. So we have got Lando Norris in first position after everyone has set their qualifying laps. Admittedly, they're probably not the most representative quali laps, but nevertheless, that is brilliant. All right. Also, guys, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. That definitely helps out the channel. Ooh, we have a yellow flag. Charles Leclerc has stopped on the circuit, so we have a yellow flag. I don't know why the yellow flag is at that part. I think it's a bit of a mistake, to be honest. But Charles Leclerc stopped on the side of the circuit. Hopefully that isn't another red flag. Oh, as I say that, it turns into a red flag. Right, I think... Well, I don't know if it was issues for Charles Leclerc or if it was a crash, but Charles Leclerc stopped on the side of the road. He stopped on the grass, and I can't tell if it's a crash or a engine issue. But yeah, Charles Leclerc is out because of one way or another. Yeah. Yeah, he stopped on the grass right next. Oh yeah, he's hit something. He's hit the rear of the car and got a bit of oversteer, and hit his left side of the car into the barrier. It wasn't a major crash or anything, but he is out of the session. There is a crane that is there ready to pick it up, so I think we should be fine to get going shortly. But yeah, just looking at this, he just went through the corner with far too much speed, and then yeah, just straight into the barrier. All right. Yeah, so just looking at this, did he lock up anywhere? No, just no locking up, just far too much speed, and just didn't have the I suspect he was expecting the kind of like fully dry levels of grip, but yeah, didn't have the grip that he needed. What turn did he crash on? He crashed on the exit of turn number 9. Yeah, he's crashed right next to an escape road, in fact, so it's not too long before we get going again. And the crane is ready to go. But yeah, so 2 red flags now in Q3. Wow. And with only 4 minutes left on the clock, I think that's only time for 1 quali lap. Maybe the teams are going to do a double warm-up because the circuit's pretty low track temperature and it's a pretty short circuit as well, so there's not enough time to get all the temperature into tires. They'll do a double warm-up maybe. But yeah. Oh, has Alonso not been able to finish his flying laps? Yeah. Yeah, very unfortunate, isn't it? And once again, he was on a fresh set as well. Everyone was out on a fresh set of tyres after Logan Sargent's red flag, and here they are back into the pits on those fresh set of tyres. So we'll see how that works out for them. Are they going to go on another set and maybe, compromise their strategy for the race? I'm not sure, because the hard tires that we have, the tires selection that we have for this weekend is the C1, C2, and C3. And around this circuit, the hard tire isn't the best, especially if it's going to be sort of damp and wet. So you're going to need soft tires if it does dry out in tomorrow's race. So I don't know if you'd want to use the tires. It's a tricky call to make, because it is quite likely that it will be raining tomorrow, but there's also a chance that as the rain progresses, it might dry up and then you might need soft tires. So, yeah. What does 2 purple means? Basically, what this is, can you see my mouse? Yes, okay. Essentially, each little bar here is a different section of the circuit. So like this section from here, from the start finish line to the end of the pit lane is probably one little section, and then the braking zone of turn 1 is another section. Braking zone of the mid corner is another section. The exit is another section. So all of these little lines mean green means it's a personal best, yellow means it's slower than your personal best, and purple means fastest out of any single driver. So yeah, that's basically what it means, and each of these is just for a little different section of the circuit. So if you want to track your favorite driver, then you can just have a look at what they're doing. So Leclerc went purple through the first sector mostly, purples and greens, and then just went a little bit too fast in the second sector, and got into a incident. And the blue essentially just means it's either an in lap or an out lap. So if you see blue at the start, like you see on Albon here, that just means he was coming out the pit lane, and a red means that they crashed. Yeah. Okay, it's 2 minutes till we resume, and all right. So they've done that one pretty quickly, and we'll have 4 minutes left of qualifying. So yeah, that should only be one lap, I'm guessing, but we'll have to see. All right, guys, I'm gonna have a quick drink, and I'll be back in a second. Denied Future asked in the chat, what happened to Lewis? Lewis got blocked by Yuki Tsunoda in Q2. So that's what's happened there. Yeah, the crane picking up these cars is absolutely enormous. I mean, this must be like an industrial level building crane or something. But they've got massive cranes to pick up the cars and try and reduce as much disruption as possible. And yeah, good on them for doing that. That is fantastic. Why is there a Williams on this track? There's a mini little Logan Sargent and Charles Leclerc on the circuit is because they've crashed, and I think what's happened is they turn off their car, which means the last known location of their GPS is where you can see the little Logan Sargent dot and the Charles Leclerc dot on the map. So that's just an indication of where they crashed, and that's about it. So we had Sargent and Leclerc, both of them crashed. All right, green line at the end of the pit lane. We got Perez and Albon are out onto the circuit. So is Fernando Alonso. All right, we've got 4 minutes left. Well, 3 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock now. So it's definitely only time for one flying lap. So Perez, Albon, Alonso, they're going early. We're going to see a couple of drivers go out right at the end. The wind has picked up a little bit, 12.6 kilometers an hour, blowing in the south direction. Yeah. Okie dokes. Here goes everyone's final lap of Q3. Potentially, we could see maybe, right, this is a big if, but if Verstappen doesn't set like a very good lap or just a quick lap in general, we could see someone else on pole position today, because these wet conditions have been mixing up quite a lot. And we've got Norris and Piastri up in first and second ahead of Verstappen, so who knows what happens. 2 minutes 30 left on the clock. We've got Verstappen out the pit lane, Piastri out the pit lane, Norris as well. So is Sainz. Okie dokes. Here goes then. So Sergio Perez on his final lap of qualifying today, coming out of the final corner and onto the start-finish straight. He's going to have a little bit of traffic ahead of him. Hopefully Sainz gets out of the way in time. But going into turn number 1, we've got Sergio Perez barreling down the straight with DRS activated. Braking at the 70-meter mark, making it through turn number 2 where Sargent crashed, into 3, gets a very big wide line that isn't exceeding track limits, which is a good job from his part, and now through into the middle sector. We've got Albon and Alonso following him. Sainz gets out of the way graciously, and hopefully he will make his way through to start his flying lap as well. All right, 1 minute 30 left on the clock. The drivers that haven't come out yet are... Who hasn't come out of the pit lane? Everyone has come out of the pit lane, in fact. My bad. So, yeah, everyone's out of the pit lane. Of course, Leclerc, Sargent have crashed. They won't be improving their lap times. But nevertheless, Leclerc on a 1 minute 12 is still pretty quick. So we'll see where he ends up for tomorrow's race. But here comes now Max Verstappen. He is starting his flying lap. We got Piastri and Norris behind him, the top 3 starting their laps together. We got Sergio Perez. He does not improve in the first sector, does not improve in the second sector, and it looks like he may stay in 6th position. We will have to wait and see. Fernando Alonso, looking at his times, he does not improve in the first sector, doesn't improve in the second sector either. Alex Albon did improve in the first sector, doesn't improve in the second sector, and in fact had a very slow second sector by the looks of it, and has backed out of his lap. So let's see, can Max Verstappen improve? Yes, he can. Purple through the first sector. Let's see what let's see what Piastri and Norris have to reply. So Piastri 0.3 slower through the first sector compared to Verstappen. And Norris goes quicker than Verstappen in the first sector. This could be on. We could see Norris up on pole position. Let's see what happens. Verstappen now through turn number 10, goes down this straight, gets a very good exit indeed. And now only 4 corners left between him and the finish line. Through the middle sector, Max Verstappen is once again purple, and he is, well on his way to get provisional pole position. We'll see if Norris can do anything about it. Norris does not improve on his personal best in the middle sector, unfortunately, and neither does Oscar Piastri. So here they go, Max Verstappen, and it is a purple sector in the third sector as well, and it is a 1 minute 10 from him. Absolutely ridiculous. Oscar Piastri crosses the line a 1 minute 11.9, 1.3 seconds behind Max Verstappen, and Norris crosses the line 1 minute 11.1, but still half a second behind Max Verstappen. That is absolutely ridiculous. Sergio Perez comes across the line. He did a warm-up lap earlier, and then in third comes across the line into third position. Fernando Alonso, he's up into third, pushes Sergio Perez down, and we've got a Red Bull, McLaren, Aston Martin top 3. Here comes, oh my god, Alex Albon. Albon's into third, guys. Can we get some hearts in the chat, some likes? I don't know what. Can we just get some Albon spam in the chat, because he's just put himself up into third position. This is fantastic. George Russell's now into third. George Russell spoiled the fun there, but look at the top 6. The top 6 is all a different team. We've got Red Bull, then McLaren, then Mercedes, then Williams, and then Aston Martin, and then Ferrari. The top 6 are all different teams. Wow, what a qualifying session. And Alex Albon, props to you. If there was a driver of the day for qualifying, it is most definitely Alex Albon. What a lap from him. And of course, Max Verstappen pole position by 0.6 of a second at his home Grand Prix. Purely sensational. There's nothing you can do to stop this man. And the Dutch fans have gone crazy, as you would have expected. But Max Verstappen pulls into the pit lane and parks up behind that number 1 slot. What a qualifying it has been. Yeah, this is wow. Not much else to say, really. Alex Albon done a brilliant job. George Russell is well up in third position. He's gonna be looking out on a podium. To be honest, Norris, Russell, Albon, Alonso, Sainz, all of them could be in for a shot of a podium tomorrow, depending on what the conditions are like. Maybe Albon's going to get a podium if it rains. Maybe if it's mixed intermediate conditions, we could see Alonso and his experience come through. Who knows? But Alex Albon is up in fourth position, and that's all. That's the summary of today's qualifying. That's it. What's happened to Sergio Perez? I don't know. Sergio Perez was in third position originally, and then and then Alonso beat him, and then Albon beat him, and then Russell beat him, and it's just, yeah. So that's what happened there. Perez, unfortunately, down in 7th place, not where Red Bull want him so much. But that has been qualifying today, guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. It'll be 1.5 hours ago tomorrow. So in 22.5 hours, basically. You guys will figure it out. It'll tell you when the stream's starting. I'll end today's stream and it'll take you over to tomorrow's stream. So go ahead and press the reminder button. And if you can hit the like button as well, that would very much be appreciated. What else do I have to say? Yeah, have a good morning, day, afternoon, night, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Be sure to check out Extra and click the link in the description just to help out the channel, even if you aren't particularly interested. And if you are, then code F1 will give you 25% off. I will see you all tomorrow for the race. So yeah, thank you everyone for tuning in, and cheers fellas.